Hello, Sarah Sabin, executive and team coach here in the Leading in the Modern Way video interview series. And I am super excited to have with me here today Julian Rodriguez, who is founder and CEO of Momento AI. Julian, hello, welcome to the show. And would you like to briefly introduce yourself to my audience?
Sure. Hey, Sarah. Thank you so much for having me. Yeah, I'm the founder and CEO of Momento AI. I've pretty much been in tech for the better part of 15 years. This is my second venture-backed startup. And I think the highlight of my career pretty much was working with Vitalik Buterin on the Ethereum white paper back in 2014.
Wow, that is so exciting. How did you end up doing that?
Yeah, very serendipitously. It is not right something that I planned. Um, Bitcoin was a new concept in technology, right? And I think, yeah, I was a senior in college, and I just wanted to be involved. I think that, for me at the time, being young, sort of a lot of things that were happening in society at the time, it just seemed like something that would work, something that we wanted, sort of decentralized finance, right? A new payment system, a sort of new financial global order that started sort of from the ground up instead of from the top down was something very appealing. And so I joined the Bitcoin magazine, actually. I wanted really to cover and help cover or spread or evangelize these ideas. And the co-founder of the Bitcoin magazine was Vitalik.
Mhm.
Yeah, and so Bitcoin magazine was more of a think tank, I think, than like a news outlet at the time. And yeah, he was coming up with this white paper, and we released the white paper as a 6-page spread in the magazine. And yeah, I think that that's where it kind of started this, philosophy in me that really there's nothing that's sort of impossible when it comes to technology. Right? It's more about how you apply it.
Mm, wow, that's an interesting story. And so I'm curious then, so if this is your second venture-backed startup, was your first one also technology focused as well?
So yeah, we were a tech startup for sure, but it was a little more, physical, traditional business style. Had nothing to do with crypto, had nothing to do with AI.
Mm.
We were a B2B wholesale food distributor for restaurants, supermarkets, right? So we had refrigerated trucks, we had an army of pickers and packers, drivers, and essentially, if a restaurant were running short on some ingredients, we would do just-in-time deliveries, right? So literally within a 12-hour window, we would get them the items that they needed. So yeah, we were essentially their wholesale distributor.
Mm. Okay, so after that first venture, you started your current one about 2 years ago now. What are some of the significant challenges you faced in the last couple of years, and how did you overcome them?
Yeah, so I think coming from the first startup, challenges, that first startup was extremely challenging,
Mhm.
right? And so I think that now what we run is a sort of a pure tech play. We don't have manual laborers, we don't have to deal with, trucks on the road or things like that. And so I would say I'm just much more comfortable in this business. Um, Challenges, I really don't see much of what we're going through as challenges,
Mhm.
right? I think we are developing systems and ideas in a brand new field, and right, it's either we cater to sort of the investors and the tech crowd, or we cater to users and early adopters, right? And we have decided to really build and sort of focus on the product and trying to attract users. So I think that there's always that challenge, right, of just sort of growing and seeding a new idea that people could or could not be excited about.
Hmm. So It's interesting because you mentioned you either focus on the investors or you focus on the users. Is there a way that the two could meet?
We believe so. We're trying something. We're trying something we think is a little different. And in our mind, it's a combination of the two. We essentially are running a crowdfunding campaign right now that allows early adopters to become investors in the company, right? And so as we get it out there to more of the community, these people are now able to have ownership in the business, but also become early adopters, right? And sort of we introduce the product there.
Mm, okay. And where are you in the development of that product? Is it out in the market, or is it sort of pre-launch stage?
No, yeah, we are fully launched. We
Mhm,
are Android, Apple apps, and we're on the web.
mhm.
So yeah, you can jump on. We have there's probably over 200 AI clones right now on our platform. There are about 7,000 people that have signed up to make AI clones.
Mm.
So they're in the process of that right now.
So when you say an AI clone, do you mean that you can literally replicate yourself?
Yes, yeah, that's exactly what it is, right? This concept is probably more popularly known as sort of a digital twin concept. And so we've named it a clone really because it's like if you went to a copy machine and just press like copy, right? So we take in real-time data about you and historical data as well, right? So if you have a presence online, let's say videos or text or images, we can ingest that as well. As well as bringing in your active sort of memories. I think that the big difference here, the big shift in what we're going to see when it comes to AI behavior um, is this concept of memory, right?
Mhm.
So when you interact with ChatGPT or Claude or anything like that, or Bard, it does not really necessarily have memory. It knows what it output to you in that chain of conversation. It doesn't really know you as an individual. It doesn't, right, sort of understand the context of maybe the things that you want and need from it. It's really just performing tasks. Like computers are really good at doing that. And so we've taken the better parts of that and combined that with a more human-like experience. So today, if you use, for example, any clone of Momento AI, it's virtually impossible for you to tell whether you're speaking to a computer or a person. And we do everything from actually even the person's voice, which sort of changes the entire dynamic there.
So I'm going to ask a question because obviously there's a lot of debate out there at the moment about is AI going to overtake actual people in the workplace? I
Yeah.
mean, what's your take on that? And I'm going to give a specific example. Let's say I am an employee at X company and I replicate myself and I work from home and basically I send my clone to work for me.
Mhm.
But the employer doesn't necessarily know. So it raises various ethical implications. But what's your take on the future of AI in the workplace?
I mean, so AI in general is totally going to reshape the workplace. I mean,
Mm.
that's just, there's no question about that. I think employers are going to have to maybe figure out what it is that they pay for when they hire an employee.
Mhm,
And employees now have, what's really happening is employees will now have more control over their own destiny.
mhm,
So for example, right now, our clones, um, they could do your very basic, things that you do at your job and even interact with or have conversations with your coworkers. Your coworkers might think it's a little weird because your clone might not know exactly like what you said yesterday to them, right? And
mhm,
so there might be a discrepancy there. But I think, right, like what humans really enjoy about other humans is sort of spontaneous creativity.
mhm,
And that is something that it's not that the AI is incapable of doing, is that the AI doesn't really find that particularly useful to do, right? So we as humans have been trained over long periods of time to recognize the pattern of why that's important and why we would do that, right? AKA charisma, right? Just your general sort of, feel good, energetic kind of person. We know when to do that and when to activate that. Computers just probably just don't think that that's important. So they wouldn't jump to that, at first. Now, if we tried and we made it a very specific agenda to inform computers that were important, we could get there as well, right? So there's really no difference. I think again, I think people are just going to move into a more explicit use of AI for specific tasks, and you can see that. Whereas I think it's something about like 60% of all work performed on OpenAI today is actually by software engineers, right? So they're using ChatGPT to make their code better, write better code, format code better, and they're putting that up to production, right? So, I mean, is there anything wrong with that? I wouldn't say so, right? I mean, I pay my engineers to write code. If they can do it faster, even better. So yeah, I think I think the big inflection point that people sort of would be or have to worry about, admittingly, it's the point of no return. But it's once we, meld AI, the software part, with the physical robot part, right? Once that happens, now, that's definitely something to consider. But I can see how there are probably some people that don't want us to get to that point, because again, that is definitely the point of no return.
Well, I mean, if we kind of take creating physical robots and sending them to work out the equation, I completely agree with you in what you said about spontaneous creativity. I think it's time that it was accepted that the skills we'll need in the workplace of the future might be different from the skills that were needed today and, years ago. So a lot of those kind of systems related processes, more automation type tasks can be enhanced by AI. But there are things that are harder to replicate. As you said, creativity is one thing, but also that ability to be human and embrace the full humanness that we have. And within that bracket, I also include leadership. I think that would be something that would be hard to be replicated by AI. So I'd love to understand you and your personal definition of what strong leadership is and how you see it impacting the growth of your company.
Yeah, that's a great question, right? Because when you first mentioned it right now, I was thinking about it in context of AI, right? Like why AI could not be sort of a great leader. And to me, the immediate answer was, right, in order to be a great leader, I think of humans, right, leader of humans, I think what you need to start with is from a point of empathy, right? And I don't think a computer is really good at empathizing with other humans. And so, right, I can't see the point of leadership being there. They will definitely be task oriented, which they can say, hey, this is what you should do, or this is what we are going to do. But it doesn't cause the same effect that I think we know and we define as leadership. Right. And so in my personal career, I've actually been more focused on sort of that version of like, okay, well, sort of this is the map, this is the direction we're going in, and kind of taking an approach of, hey, you're either on board with things or not. And I think earlier on in my career it was probably more that than now, and it doesn't work too well, for sure. Humans definitely. I mean, if you look at how your regular family worked as a child, right? And if you think of your parents as the leader of the household, I think that it's a really good example for us to understand what any possible leadership role is, right? Of course, you'll even if you're the best leader, you might have some subordinates that aren't really team players or with the mission. Uh, but then that's your job as a leader to identify that and understand the shortcomings of the team as a whole or you as a leader. I think that what we're discussing now is probably the biggest challenge humanity in general has had over the millennia, right? Whether that's leadership for civilization building in times of war, or sort of now business, right? Where we normally think of it in. Um, I think I think it's a great situation. Just like everyone, it's pretty commonplace to start a family and have a family. I think that this is something that should be practiced by almost everyone. I think everyone should take a crack at it and see, you know, uh, where in their lives they can be leaders. Because I do think we all have the potential for it, right? And everyone will have their own perspective about it. But yeah, I think the most poignant sort of sentence or quote that I've ever experienced about sort of leadership, it has been really, you just need to find your tribe, right? Everyone is not going to be a perfect fit. You can't lead everyone, and there's sort of no silver bullet for like, hey, wow, this is a difficult situation. If I do this coordinated effort of things in this particular order, I'll be the perfect leader for this group. I don't think that that's how things work. So yeah, I think it's just realistic assessment of the issues at hand, the people that are a part of your team, the goals that you have mapped out, and then a constant reiteration of those things,
Mm,
right, leads us into sort of a better direction.
mm. No, thank you for sharing that. And I just want to bring out a couple of things that you said. So, number one, you can practice leadership in any area of your life. So, I think, some people might associate a title with being a leader, but just because you have a certain job title, it doesn't necessarily mean per se that you know anything about leadership. These are all skills that we can practice and develop in any slash all areas of our lives. And, the other thing to say here is that, in terms of finding your tribe, yes, certain people are going to resonate with you more than others. But I think what you said about there is no perfect solution, probably, in times where things are tough, you're not going to be able to make everyone happy. So you have to do the best that you can do at that stage in time based on your beliefs and your value system.
Yeah, absolutely. That's those are the conclusions that I've come to over the past 15 years. But I'm always open to hearing potentially a better way, right? I do think that there are certain people who do a lot of prep work before they begin an endeavor and sort of have things lined up in a better way, right? So yeah, I'm always open to sort of understanding if there are ways to sort of mitigate the stress associated with leadership or the hardships associated with leading a team.
Mm. And yeah, that's another key point. There's always more to learn. There's always another level. There's always skills that you can enhance that lead into leadership. And on that note, I'd love to know more about how you've invested in your own leadership capacity and what steps you take to grow and evolve in your role.
Yeah, so I think that the number one thing is really just being around other leaders.
Mm.
And right, I think I've been fortunate enough to be able to do that. But I seem to have done it in a way that wasn't that specific. So for example, I was part of a Stanford certificate, graduate certificate program, and I just thought I was joining a good educational institution, right? I was flattered that I was considered for admission, and you know, uh, just wanted to see what Palo Alto, right, the Stanford campus was about. When I got there, I realized that about 80% of everyone else in the program did not need this program whatsoever.
Mhm.
There were people there that already they were already Harvard MBAs, a couple PhDs. I mean, they didn't need to really be here. They ran businesses with 3,000 plus employees. I mean, they had an incredible background and career. And they were just happy to just be talking to other people who they felt were like them, either at an earlier part of their career or at a later part of their career. And it was a really great opportunity. I mean, I think most people call it networking, but you know, uh, the things that I was able to learn and share with the people in that room over the course of the program were incredible, right? And there's really no other way I think I would have ever met so many people at one time,
Mm.
right? Sort of in the same focus, experienced the same challenges, or had the same ambitions, right? And so I think for me, it was, that was very clear. And then in other parts of my life, it was through different sort of attempted partnerships for the businesses that I ran, and
Mhm.
then sort of pinpointing certain people who which I could just be a normal human, right?
Mhm.
These things had really very little to do with the business because the partnerships never really materialized. But the lead there, right, of that organization was just someone that I felt like I could build a real rapport with, right? That if we would have met under any other circumstances, he was a baseball coach and I was another baseball coach or something like that, we would have hung out, right, and grabbed a beer. And I think a lot of those people I've been able to keep sort of in my circle. And when I'm going through certain challenges, I just ask them questions like, hey, how did you navigate this? What would you do? And they answer in a very honest way, right? That you don't necessarily get in like a digital course or right, something like that. Um, so yeah, I think it's just you definitely want to pick the people that you surround yourself with in a more humane capacity, right? Because I think it's right, like if you think of it as a funnel, sure, you want to get as many people into the funnel as you can, but eventually you have to, right? I mean, you're not going to dedicate 100 hours a week to
Mhm.
trying to see and repeat all the questions to everyone. You sort of pick the people that you think enjoy your time as well.
Mm. Yeah, the point you've raised comes up again and again, surrounding yourself with people that understand, your value system, some of the struggles you face, are there for support, for advice, etc. And that is invaluable, especially because being an entrepreneur can be lonely. And I run masterminds groups as well for entrepreneurs, and it's amazing time and time again they say, oh, it's amazing how I've realized that actually all these people go through the same kind of things I go through. um Last question, Julian. What would you say to your 20-year-old self if you could go back in time and give him one piece of advice?
So my default answer to this really is nothing, just because I I thoroughly enjoy the way that things have worked out or are working out, and I wouldn't want to really sort of change or tweak any one thing into one way or another. But my immediate answer would be take the Ethereum Vitalik offered you. Um, that's in my very particular case. Um, but yeah, I think when I think about sort of what a 20-year-old needs to hear, or would benefit the most from understanding, um, is probably something very simple, right? And it's that things are going to be okay. They work out. Um, I think that when you're young and you're doing things on your own, there's a lot of pressure to believe that, hey, you're inches away of falling off the cliff. And once you fall off, it's game over, right? There's really no coming back. And that's just not true, right? Now, I don't know if people are able to use that and turn it around into positive fuel to sort of make sure they don't slip, but I don't think that that is particularly healthy. I think that especially in your 20s, I think it's on you to really understand that this is the time to, take risks, try things, get into different circles, right? I had internships lined up that had nothing to do with crypto when I was in my senior year. I had no reason to engage in a communication with this random internet group known as the Bitcoin Magazine,
Mm.
uh, right? And take this guy who was younger than me, Vitalik, serious. You know, and like I mentioned before, if I would have taken him more serious at the time, I'd been a different. I'd been a different.
You'd be sitting on a beach sipping a cocktail.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. So, and then there was just so many more opportunities, right? I had the opportunity to show up, sort of be ground zero when a lot of these things were happening. And so a lot of that has marked who I am today. And show up is like a life, a mantra of mine, right? Just show up. And I think again, your 20s are that time where you could do that. I would say, I've always been in and around New York City. And when I haven't been in New York City, I've been in Miami. But I would say in your 20s, pick a American metropolis. You want to be in the middle of things, period. It's not going to be glamorous. You're not going to be living on a penthouse on Park Avenue. Like that's not what you're going to be doing. And that's okay. Right. But in your 20s, I would definitely say, yeah, you want to be around people who are focused on meeting other people, sharing ideas, right? Giving opportunities, right? And in your 20s, everything is really an opportunity. Like everything, unless it's a sickness, it's an opportunity,
Mm.
uh, right? So, yeah, I essentially would just really say that I'd say really dig into your 20s, and I think your 30s are for sort of family building, and your 40s I don't really know. I don't have a verdict there. I'm not 40 yet. Uh,
Oh, you're so lucky. I turned 40 this year. I'll let you know how my 40s go.
Gotcha. Yeah. But yeah, I can imagine, right, that it's just doubling down on that sort of that family effort. Right. Most likely. But again, I think I think there's a lot of ways to play your 20s. And I don't think it needs to be picture perfect.
Yeah.
Anyone that has had a picture perfect, 20s, it's on you to make the decisions, um, that will increase the opportunities that you have. Um, and those are not the same as someone in their 30s and 40s, right? Where, again, I guess I don't want to dig too deep my own personal opinions, but I don't think a 20-year-old should be focusing on their 401k. Right? It is good, sound financial advice, of course. Uh, but that I think is more apt to someone in their 30s or 40s. I think in your 20s, again, what you want to be focused on is building your legacy as a person, not your brokerage account.
Mm. I agree. And, if I was to summarize it, if I was to take some keywords from that, it would be seize opportunities and follow your curiosity as well, because essentially that's what you did with Vitalik Buterin. Obviously, you didn't follow it right to the nth degree, but nonetheless, you were involved in something that was groundbreaking without knowledge of it at the time. So yeah, I want to conclude on take risks.
For sure. No, no, hands down, hands down. Your ability to bounce back in your 20s is borderline miraculous, right?
Mm,
We look back at 20-year-olds and we're like, man, I could never do that. I look back at some of the things that I did in my 20s. I was like, how? How? Right. And that's the reality. That's the true power of being in your 20s, right?
mm,
So you only get one shot at it, right? And it's not even like a whole 10 years. It's more like 8 or 7 years.
mm, mm,
So, I would say take advantage of those 8 or 7 years as much as you can.
mm. Thank you, Julian. I've really enjoyed this conversation today.
Awesome, Sarah. Yeah, me too.
So, to my listeners, I hope you've enjoyed this conversation as well. If you would like to take part in the Leading in the Modern Way video interview series, please do reach out to me. Bye for now.